Welcome to Chef Richard's Kitchen. I'm Chef Richard Miller. With the cold weather here, nothing quite warms you up and makes you feel good like soup, especially cream soups. And there are a lot of them. We made a cream of asparagus soup on this channel before, and everybody liked it. I liked it, whatever. I've served it to guests and they liked it. And what I thought we'd do today is resurrect an oldie but a goodie, and that's cream of mushroom soup. And pretty much everybody likes cream of mushroom soup, along with cream of chicken and things like this. And I'm going to try and make a few of them on this channel while the weather is cold, just because there's nothing that makes you feel warm and good when you come in after shoveling the driveway like a good hot bowl of soup. So today we're going to do the cream of mushroom. Let's get started. The first thing we want to do is I want to put a little oil in there, and I'm also going to put about 4 tablespoons of butter. Now we'll give this just a little bit of time so that the butter can melt, and then we're going to go ahead and saute the onions. And for this, what we're going to need is about probably 24 ounces of mushrooms. And what I've done is I've chopped these, but I have 2 8-ounce containers of baby Bella mushrooms in here, and I also have an 8-ounce container of shiitake mushrooms. And I like the combination, and that's the big reason that I'm doing it here. So let's go ahead, and I've got probably a large size onion. That we're going to saute in here. Now really, what we want to do here is we don't so much want to caramelize it or cook it till it's brown. No, what we want to do is sweat it. And what we're going to do there is we're going to get some of the moisture out of it. If we get it a little bit brown, that's perfectly fine. I really like it that way too, but not caramelized. We don't want to, caramelize the sugars. We want them to come out. And so this is why we're just going to go ahead and saute this for a few minutes. And then we'll put in, I've got about 4 cloves of garlic, 2 teaspoons of dried thyme, probably a couple tablespoons of chopped parsley, a half a cup of Marsala wine, probably 2, I'm just using a instant beef broth here with the powder. It's about the equivalent of 2 bouillon cubes. We're going to need salt, pepper, and a cup of cream. Now, I'm going to be using cream in this recipe just because I want to make it, kind of the way the chefs would make it in a restaurant. Now, with that said, is there any way you can make it, with a little less fat in there? Absolutely. I've made this before. I made it with half and half, and I've also made it with fat-free half and half, and they both come out equally well. All right, the onions are just starting to get a little brown in them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put in our garlic. Now I tend to put the garlic in after I saute the onions, because garlic is one of those that burns very, very easily. And if all of a sudden, you start smelling burnt garlic, game's over. Start over, because it's going to taste bitter and you don't want it. So we just saute this until it becomes fragrant. Until you can smell the garlic, it gives you a nice aroma. Then you'll know the garlic is releasing its flavor. All right, give me just a second. I'm going to go ahead and let this saute a little bit, and I'll be right back. Okay, the onions are now translucent. The garlic has become very fragrant. The edges of the onion are just starting to get a little brownish, and that's right where we want it. That's releasing the sugars from the onion. It's going to make it sweeter, but at the same time, we're not going to get a caramelized taste in there, because we don't want it in this particular instance. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the mushrooms in. Now what I've done is I've taken a few of these shiitake mushrooms, and I've gone ahead, I've taken a few of these shiitake mushrooms and I've gone ahead and just left them in strips. And the reason I did that is because I want to be able to put some around the bowl, probably with a little parsley or something like that, as a garnish. So I'm just leaving a little bit of it to do for that. Now let's put in the shiitake mushrooms. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take and get most of the moisture out of these mushrooms. They're going to reduce quite a bit while we saute them. We don't want to saute them at too high of a heat, but we still want to drive a lot of the water out of it. So what I'm going to do now is, this will probably take between 3 and 5 minutes. Once again, no sense in making you stand there and just wait for me to do this. That'd be ridiculous. So let me go ahead and shut the camera off right now. And as soon as the mushrooms have dried out a little bit, we'll come back and we'll finish it up. Don't go away. Welcome back. I'm going to switch to the detail camera right now. And I want you to look and see how these mushrooms, how much they've reduced. And I'm kind of breaking them up a little bit in here. That's reduced quite a bit. They've given up a lot of their moisture. And now, here comes a matter of personal preference. Some people like to leave, good sized chunks of mushrooms in their soup. That's fine. I don't want it completely, blended and creamy, because I want a little bit in there. but I don't want big chunks. So once again, my year one potato masher to the rescue. That's reduced the size of them quite a bit right there. So now what I want to do is I want to put in about 6 tablespoons of flour. Now I want to put that in before we put our chicken broth, our wine, and our cream in. And the reason is, if we put it in while this is still reasonably dry, number one, it won't clump when we go to add the other liquids. Number two, it will also give it time, it'll cook that flour taste out of it. And the last thing you want is to serve somebody cream of mushroom soup and have it taste cream of flour soup. No, you don't want that. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to put some flour in here. I'm going to put 6 tablespoons in altogether. Okay, now this kind of makes a paste, which is okay. That's exactly what we're looking for. And I'm going to give it just a minute or so, and I'm going to let the flour taste cook out of it. Okay, now that we've cooked the flour out of it and it's a nice paste and it'll easily incorporate into the liquid. Here's something that I've told my viewers before, and I'm going to tell you again. I'm just using, a commercial marsala here. I'm not endorsing this one or anything else. It's just one that's a very competent marsala. It tastes, it tastes good, and I'm not afraid to use it. Some of them that I find in the vinegar aisle that are listed as cooking wine, they're better off to be flushed. But this one's a decent one. There are lots of different brands. But as I tell all you viewers before, and I'm going to say the same thing again, before you put it into your meal, taste it. That's good. Would you serve this as an after dinner wine or a before dinner, or would you serve this to your guest if you were going to serve a wine? I probably wouldn't serve a marsala, but this I wouldn't be afraid, to serve. It's good. So what do you do if the wine doesn't taste good? Throw it away. There's our wine. And we're going to stir that in. I remember when I first started making wine, the vintner that was kind of my mentor, I'm going to put a little chicken broth in here too, just because I want it to loosen up just a little bit more. he was talking about blending wines. And if you have one that's a little acidic and one that's a little low in acid, he says you can always blend the two together. He says, but here's what you don't want. If you've got 5 gallons of good wine here and 5 gallons of mediocre wine here, you mix them together, what do you have? Well, you got 10 gallons of bad wine. So remember, you know, when doing some of these, make sure you're using something decent. Don't put bad wine in with your good meal. All right, this is nice and pretty much creamy. What I want to do is I want to add my thyme. Probably about half of my beef bouillon. Salt. And some pepper. All right, I put the last of my chicken stock in there. Now, time to taste it. Tastes very good, but I'm just going to put in a little more. I'm going to put in a little more salt and pepper. It just tasted just a little bit flabby. And by flabby I mean it had a good taste, but it didn't come out, you know, as sharp tones, you know, in the food spectrum. So I just consider it a little flabby. So what I'm going to do is I put just a little bit more in. Quite a bit better. Now let me put the last of my bouillon in there, and remember that's going to have some salt in it too, so make sure you make allowances for that. All right, what I'm going to do now is everything's incorporated except for the cream and our finishing toppings. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to raise it up to a boil again, because remember, flour, like cornstarch and any of the rest of them, don't thicken until it boils. Then it thickens. So what I want to do is I want to bring it up to a boil, thicken it, you know, a little bit to where I want it, and then I'm going to put it down to a simmer. I'm going to let it simmer, And things like the dried thyme are going to soften up, release their flavors in there, and it's going to come out really good. So let me get it to boil here. It's now boiling, and I'm going to let it boil for probably about 30 seconds. And our soup is thickening up, which is what we want. So I'm just going to let it go maybe another minute, and we'll taste it one more time, and if it comes out good, then we're going to go ahead and put our cream in there, and we're going to let it simmer for a little while. So, be right back. Okay, it's been about a minute. And right now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drop the temperature down. And I'm going to drop the temperature down to 180 degrees. And what I want to do now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the cream in. Okay, let me go ahead. I'm going to let this simmer for about 5, 6, maybe 7 minutes, something like that. Everything ought to, get well melded in there together. And about that time, it'll be time to come back, give it a final taste, and then we're going to plate. So, stay tuned. I'll be right back. Okay, here we are. I went ahead and I let the soup simmer, for probably about 5 to 7 minutes. And last thing we do, very good. You can tell, you can taste the beef base of this. You can taste a little bit of the onion in the background. You can certainly taste the mushrooms. It has a little hint of the marsala in there, and very creamy, very smooth. So, last thing we're going to do is we're going to plate. Right Now remember, I left a couple of these little shiitake slices, for garnish. We can go ahead and put them there. If we wanted, we could put a little parsley in there, whatever. Go ahead and do however you want. We can do the same with the bowl. And here we have it, cream of mushroom soup. Please feel free to give it a try. It's absolutely delicious. If you make it, you're going to love it, especially on these nice cold snowy nights, or any time for that goes. Give it a try. Let me know how you do. Put a note in the comments or send me a note, chefrdmiller@att.net. I'm always happy to hear about how my viewers are doing. So, before you sign off from this, remember to give me a thumbs up, or even better, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. So, once again, take care, God bless. Remember that cooking should always be fun, and I'll see you next episode. Bye for now.